Hello friends, welcome to the restoration video of this Avenger 220 DTS SI. I am on my way to film some shots so that you friends can enjoy the results after the painting has been completed. But before that, there is a whole lot of work. We have to paint the chassis, the body filler has to be applied and the primer has to be applied, the top coat is to be done, and finally the bike has to be assembled and showcased to you people. And now let's jump on to the restoration part of the video. Actually the bike has got many scratches and dents all over the places, especially on the tank. The mudguard has been broken. Anyways, we have disassembled the bike, washed it thoroughly and deeply with first of all with a diesel wash, then soapy water wash. Then we have primered it, sanded it down properly. Now we are applying PU black to the chassis. Actually, we are using withkapci PU black for this process. We are applying almost around like 2 to 3 coats into the chassis. Each and every corner has to be covered. The engine is being painted with metallic grey, as you may have seen in our previous video of our Honda Unicorn restoration. The same metallic grey is also used for this particular engine. Since we are painting on this engine, as already mentioned on our previous video, we have to make sure our paint sticks to the engine. So we have painted it already with epoxy primer and let it cure for almost 2 to 3 days. It's only after that we are painting this engine on metallic grey. After completing this metallic grey, we would let it dry for almost like 20 to 30 minutes and we would just smash on the matte clear. Just that we have to keep this video short. I have already painted these wheels on satin finish. Now let's move on to the cracked portions of this bike. For this crack we are using flex quick just because the piece is already riveted down and we couldn't use any body filler just because the fit is very tight with the bike. For this mudguard with the bike, the fit is very tight. If we are applying some kind of body filler or something like that, there is a huge possibility that we would scratch it over the time when we are fixing it back to the bike, or it could even crack within 2 to 3 months. So in that particular case we are just using this flex quick, and a small amount of body filler is to be applied over the crack just as to seal that crack without being shown. As you have seen in the beginning of the video, this tank has got some dents to it which is around like 1 to 1.5 inches deep. We have used body filler just as to cover it up. We have sanded it down, cleaned properly, and now we are applying 2K filler just as to seal the small scratches and cracks that may have occurred during the filling process or the sanding process. After applying 2 to 3 coats of this 2K filler, we would let it dry for around like 2 days and sand it down with 320 grit sandpaper. Now we are applying some 2K filler to the cracked portion of the front mudguard so as to cover up the crack and have a perfect body shape. Each of the pieces is getting primered in 2K primer. We would certainly recommend 2K primer for this type of restoration project, which in turns bring more life and more finish to the restored work or project that we are working on. Like we have said, this particular bike has got a candy shade to it. So for just like any other candy paint, there comes a base coat, the top coat and the clear coat. Now we are applying the base coat. For this particular red, the base coat is in silver shade and we are applying around like 2 to 3 layers of metallic silver that is specially prepared for this particular red shade. We would apply even and fine coats of metallic silver all over the body parts. It's time for us to apply the top coat. We would mix up to around like 50 to 60% of thinner. We are using Nippon's Nax PU thinner for this particular purpose. And since if you friends are not familiar with candy painting, it is certainly important that we apply very fine coats one over the other with a time period of around like 5 to 7 minutes, or else we would definitely have major shrink back issues with the piece, and then definitely we would have to rework it all again. Since this paint is on candy, there is no other alternative way so that we could patch it up and make it work all over again. We would have to certainly work it from the beginning, from the start. So we have to be very careful applying the top coat, not too heavy coats, just light coats one over the other within 5 to 7 minutes interval. And this is how the first coat look like. And definitely one more thing to keep in mind, the number of coats will determine the depth of the color. What I mean is, actually, if you are applying 2 to 3 coats of this top red, we would get a lighter red as a result. Just in case we are applying 1 or 2 coats extra for this particular tank, we would get a much darker shade of red. That's how candy paints are supposed to work. So when we are painting these parts, we have to keep in mind the particular pattern that we are painting each parts, and we have to mimic the pattern for the entire project, or else we would have a different darker or lighter shades of red for each parts, and which would definitely ruin our complete job. And since I told you there is no way of patching it up and correcting it, we would definitely have to work it all over again. Like I said you, this is the lighter shade that we are getting after the completion of first coat. Now we could see the tank, the final shade of red that we would get after applying 3 coats of top coat. Now what we are doing is cutting it down with 2000 grit sandpaper. It is really important to use only 2000 grit sandpaper. It's just for the purpose of getting rid of those sand piling or some sort of dust which may have stuck onto the top coat, and just to make sure the clear has got a proper surface to stick, and to ensure the desired result, we are just sanding it down so as to remove any sand piling or dust which may have stuck onto the paint. And just before going to the next step, that is clearing, we have to make sure we have covered even coats of top coat all over the tanks, especially at the corners and the bottom part, or else it would be totally difficult to bring it back to the particular shape that we would desire. So anyways, let's mix up the clear. This is Capsi's 2K anti-scratch clear coat 6050, that is the code number. This particular clear is all around like 2 times expensive than the usual clear that is available on our market. But from my experience, I would certainly recommend using this particular clear for any restoration project, just because it has got more life, durability and shine throughout the life of the paint. Now it is time for us to smash on that clear. Since we are using HS clear, we would apply very fine coats one over the other with 5 minutes of interval. Just because we are using HS clear and it is much more heavier than the usual clear, and we are using slow hardener for this HS clear, we would have to be very careful to apply very fine coats one over the other with a 5 to 10 minutes of interval, or else we would have definitely runs and dust all over the piece. Just because in this HS clear system, it takes more time for setting and initial curing than the normal PU clear that we may use. I am speeding up this video to make this total video much shorter and much more fun to watch. After all that painting, curing, and we are gonna fix back the body pieces to the bike. We have already fixed both the wheels to the bike, and now we are fixing the body parts back onto the bike. And after that, we are gonna just film this bike outside to our nearest location, which is more beautiful, as you may have seen in the beginning. Anyways, enjoy. I hope you have all learned something about painting from this video, and I hope you have enjoyed a bit from this video. If this video was enjoyable or informative, please do share, subscribe, and help us reach more friends. And enjoy.